Today,
All right, 20 people ask a billionaire anything. What would you ask a billionaire if y'all could?
I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today and I'm struggling. I got bills, man.
Do I rebuttal this? Do I say something? Because if you're struggling, why the fuck are you going to YouTube shoots, man? Are they paying for these people for these videos? How much they paying? It better be more than what you get for a day of work. That's all I gotta say. Because ain't no way you skipping on work to go shoot a YouTube video. We brought 20 strangers together to sit with a billionaire to ask anonymous questions. He probably thought he was getting robbed.
Founder of Morgan & Morgan.
They sponsor WWE?
Largest injury law
No way.
And according to Forbes, I'm a billionaire. Ask me anything.
What do you mean by
My
according to
first question
Forbes?
is, how much are you currently worth, and how did you amass that amount of money?
I'm a lawyer. I went to law school and became a lawyer, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I built and operate a chain of attractions across America. I have Marriott hotels across America. I build shopping centers. The big part of my wealth has been generated by my law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Well, I don't know exactly how much I'm worth.
I was about to say, you didn't
used
answer
to
the
tell my
question.
kids when they were little, when their friends would ask them, are we rich or not? I said, the answer is this: we're comfortable.
What do you mean comfortable? Like, you definitely have way more than just being comfortable. You live a luxury life.
Do you call being
I'm pretty sure when he was first starting, he was not comfortable. He's probably in debt.
And but you don't feel like it because you don't spend it. When you grow up a certain way, it's not like it's changed much in my life. I'm in the same house. I don't spend the money that you would think I'd spend. It's odd because you have all this money in the bank, but it doesn't really change what you do day to day.
My question for you is, what stops you from using your wealth to change somebody's life?
Nothing. Listen, I live 3 places. I live in Florida, I live in Maui, Hawaii, and I live in New Hampshire. But I've taken my wealth and done certain things. Like in Florida where I live, I ran a constitutional amendment twice to legalize medical marijuana. I lost the first time, but I won the second time with 72% of the vote. I believe that income inequality is the #1 issue facing America today. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And every day the gulf is getting wider. So what did I do? I ran a constitutional amendment. I spent tens of millions of dollars to raise the minimum wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour in Florida. That's a doubling of the minimum wage.
Fucks with
So
that.
I take that money that I make and I've run those constitutional amendments and I've put money into food banks and coalition
fuck
for
is
the
that fit?
homeless, and it goes on and on. And I will tell you this, not to pat me on the back too much about it, because I don't really feel it. I don't really feel it. I was at lunch the other day and this woman walks up to me and says, John, I just want to thank you and your wife for the donation you made to iDignity. I didn't know what iDignity was.
What was a
I said,
Fortnite
how much do
skin?
we give? She said $500,000. It turned
Bro just said, I didn't feel it. And it was 500K. That's my reaction too. I ain't gonna lie.
Turns out that my wife had given the money. And by the way, if you want money, call my wife. And iDignity is a place for the poorest of the
I'm
poor
gonna
to
call
get
his wife. Hold on.
identification, because more and more in this country, you need to have an identification just to get food stamps. I believe when you make this kind of money, you have an obligation to give it back. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt you. You know, you can look at me and know I'm not missing too many meals. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
So I'm gonna try to rephrase it. What stops you from getting out that car at the moment where you and your son, and you seen the homeless person? What stopped you from changing that person's life?
Well, I do get out of the car from sometimes. When I pull up to a stoplight and there's somebody out there begging for food, even if they look like they've been eating donuts for the last 10 years, I give them money because I'm not going to judge them. I look at them this way. They're out there
Y'all think he capping about that?
No.
on the street in the heat I don't know what they're doing out there, but you know what? It's not my job to judge.
I feel like a lot of billionaires, they say the same thing. They say they do donate and they do give to people. You give to organizations and large conglomerates that take your money and they break it up and they throw it around. If you're not handing something down to help somebody who really needs it, then what does it matter?
You're in the law field, and that's
So I guess does he want him to pull out receipts? Like, yeah, I did this.
how you've amassed your
Like
network
what?
and everything that you've earned. If you had to start over in a different industry, what would you be in order to become a billionaire again?
I don't even know how it happened in the first place. So it's like keep waiting to wake up, and it was all a dream. I was like, how did this happen? Listen, here's my problem. I suck in math and I suck in science. So
I don't know what he's on about. His shirt hella stretched out.
But my gut tells me I want to go to Wall Street and make deals like that. But what I would probably do.
I want to say something, but then it might be fucked up because if it is actually true. But he do look a little homeless. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
is stay in the attraction business that I'm in. I love that
he look
business
rough
because there's no fighting. And I did it as a hobby. I've always thought what I could have done with my attraction and amusement business if I'd had it full time instead of, it was more like collecting stamps than anything, to tell you the truth. I believe by paying more, I make more because I keep people, and my people are really all I have.
So, in your opinion, why aren't other billionaires doing the same thing that you're doing?
if he's
Well, I think
homeless and
some
called
are,
off work,
some
he's
aren't. A lot
fucked.
of people have to, like, once I raised the minimum wage
Because there's no
here
way,
in
bro.
Florida, all of
Like,
a sudden, out of the blue, Universal raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I kind of took credit for that. At a certain point, when wages start to rise, businesses have to respond, because if Universal's paying $15, then Disney's got to pay $15, because who cares if you're running Small World or Harry Potter? You're looking for a job.
So you mentioned a little bit how you've put money into politics and things like that, and in the current political climate in the United States, our government's run by the billionaires, kind of for the billionaires. What do you think the moral role of a billionaire should be within the United States government?
By and large, the opposite of what it is. These fat cats got so much money, but they want the tax laws to benefit them. Like, these hedge fund people don't even pay taxes. And so the
He might be on our
billionaires are
side,
not
guys.
satisfied with what they have. They want more and more and more and more. And what my worry is, this income inequality, at some point there's a breaking point. At some point you can become Cuba. And what I would say to these billionaires, you're going to make this gulf so big and so vast just because you don't think it could ever happen in America. Just remember January 6th. Just remember them storming the Capitol. Those were the barbarians at the gate, and they were mad as hell. And you know what they're mad about? They were mad because they think they're going to fall further and further behind. They weren't mad, and they thought Donald Trump was the one that could do it for them. But that's why they stormed the Capitol. And when I saw it, I said, that could be our future if we let the haves and the have-nots get so separated.
I think everybody knows that probably every single billionaire does evade taxes. And he did say that he wants billionaires to be taxed so high, but I can promise you he probably has found ways to evade taxes.
Back in around like 1940,
Damn, what the
the
fuck?
tax rate was around like 90, higher than 90%, right? Would you be somebody that would advocate to bring back such a high tax rate in order to redistribute the wealth?
I don't know about 90% because you got to have some motivation. Listen, I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. But I also believe we have to do the most for the most with least.
So when you mention capitalism, right? Capitalism is kind of inherently parasitical, right? You're going to always take more from the workers. You're going to put a profit on their labor that they're putting into the business. And I think now we're seeing that capitalism inherently causes these income inequalities. So I think we need to expand those social safety nets. We need to increase taxes on the wealthy in order to allow the poor to enjoy, the things that maybe you enjoyed when you were younger and things like that.
Well, look, I agree with you, and I think it's really for these people who are so rich, they're going to lose it one way or the other if they don't. Because look, the thing about you got socialism and capitalism. Socialism on paper makes a lot of sense, but then you got to count on everybody working. Will they all work? But in the short run, what we're seeing right now with this big, beautiful bill that they're talking about, We're talking about cutting all sorts of benefits to give more money to the rich and dig our country into trillions of more long-term debt. And I look at it and I scratch my head. The rich should be taxed bigger and harder. And so the reason I'm more for capitalism is because if you go to a socialistic country like France.
France is not socialist.
France is not?
No. You look at, let's say China. We'll give China for example.
China's not. China's communism. I've been to China.
China's not communist.
Huh?
China's not communist. They're run by the Chinese Communist Party, but they're not.
What are they?
They're a socialist country.
Socialist?
Yes. And you
Listen,
look at their
man,
infrastructure.
hey,
you
man,
look at
I've been to China.
Their wealth inequality, and it's actually pretty good.
Have you ever been to China?
Have I? No.
Let me tell you something. It is the most oppressed country I've ever been to.
Look, no. China's.
Bro got all that money and couldn't fix his teeth. Hey, man, you got that crooked smell. And I think he's capping about China. I've seen China, and China looks pretty nice, bro. China looks pretty calm from what my TikTok's showing.
Not oppressed. Look at China. China they have great social safety nets.
You need to go to China and watch the people with their heads down.
This is a completely different China we're talking about. I'm talking
about China today.
I'm talking, yeah, okay, if we're talking about China today, then no.
Then you have drank the wrong Kool-Aid.
I was like, oh, I'm the only Asian person in the room, so it's like so weird to see somebody kind of like debate about a country that my mom is from. I would have to agree with John more in terms of like China being a communist country.
John, I'm a parent, and one of the challenges I have is making sure that my mindset is not my children's mindset. How do you overcome that challenge as a billionaire to make sure your children have their own mindsets?
That's hard to do because they live with you and they hear you. The interesting thing about life is you get older, you start listening to your children, you're like, they're stealing all my shit. I said that, I did that. But what I used to tell them is this: when you're watching me, take the good parts and leave the bad parts. And the thing
9 times out of 10, your kid is not going to follow the same path,
the
right?
only thing that I want you to be, I don't care what you are other than this, I want you to be a compassionate human being. I want you to put other people first.
Yeah.
And that's the only mindset that I want.
Because to me, it's fuck everybody. Not if you're rich.
And I think that they have
True.
done that.
Because then
One of my
usually you
goals,
just end
I
up with
think,
the
is to
business,
make my
right?
kids better than me. What's your main challenge that you see as a billionaire making your kids better than you?
The main challenge is that your children do not feel entitled. There's nothing worse than an entitled person, somebody who was born with a silver spoon stuck up their butt, and they become the worst person in the world. I never bought my kids nice cars because I knew they were going to be dinged. And you have to make your kids work. You have to have consequences that are consistent. But the main thing you have to do, if I was giving advice as a parent, you got to spend a whole lot of time. It's all about the time. And remember this, your
Teach 'em
child
morals
is
and
one
shit.
friend away from total disaster. And when you see that friend,
Look at my friends.
you got to separate that
Look
friend
how I
as
ended
hard
up.
as it is.
Come
So
on
you
now.
just mentioned that when you have a child who is having a friend that you find them to be not good for them, essentially, that you have to do what you can to separate them. As a billionaire, what does that entail for you?
Well, you can only do so much. I mean, I've only separated 2 friends in all the years. And one was a kid who used to come over and, he just reeked of marijuana and he was stoned and I just had a bad vibe. And I said, look, so-and-so, you can't go over there and he can't come over here. My son Matthew was enraged. You can't tell me who's going to be my friend. I said, I'm telling you, you can't go there and they can't come here. But you can't stop them at school. You
Right.
can't stop them at a certain point. Later in life, I was justified because that kid that I was worried about ended up in prison.
I'm someone who works with youth in Orlando. I spend every moment of my days to coach and develop the youth in Orlando. And I work with at-risk youth And one of the biggest things that I have seen in Orlando is that since medical marijuana was passed as a bill in Florida, marijuana use has become normalized among the youth and those that are underaged. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you didn't allow your son to be friends with someone who smoked pot because he smelled loud and he smoked weed. So
He's smoking
why would
loud
you
for
advocate
sure.
for a bill like that to be passed when you kicked someone out of your family
we
circle
get
who was
here.
smoking weed themselves?
We
When my
get
brother
it.
was
You're from
paralyzed,
Orlando.
They had him on Percocet, Xanax, and everything else. The
What?
only thing that gave him relief, immediate relief, was marijuana. Listen, I believe that marijuana use at an early age fries the mind. I drug tested my children a lot, and my son Matthew failed that drug test a lot. But here's the difference.
He was still hanging out with that
I'd
boy.
rather have my brother taking marijuana gummy or opioids, fentanyl. It's a no-brainer. So I
Zay
don't
sold
think
me
marijuana
fent.
use is on the rise. Let me tell you something. If you want marijuana
Zay sold me
today,
fent back
go
in the
to any
day.
middle school in America,
Yep.
and we'll have a nickel bag real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel that there's an ethical gray area when it comes to use of marijuana or other drugs in the youth or in adults in our country? And do you think that that leads to potentially a ethical gray area for you as a billionaire as it relates to other things in your life?
Medical marijuana, no way. Because listen, where I think the unethical conduct is coming from is from the pharmaceutical industry. Marijuana is a plant that was put into earth
Yeah, I really thought
by
he was going to be a
God or
dickhead.
by nature, and it works. I don't know
He's
how
not.
it works. I don't know how aloe works, but when you rub aloe on sunscreen, it goes away. So I feel very good, morally, ethically, every single way about what I did with medical marijuana. And here's the proof in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
1 million people in Florida have a card, and guess who uses it mostly? People 65 and older. Go to the marijuana stores, look at the marijuana
Shorty
stores,
with braids is
look
the
who's going
only
in.
one wearing Nike
It ain't
slides without
kids,
socks.
it's me.
Yeah, so I'm still really confused about the marijuana
This one?
thing. I feel like with a lot of billionaires, they do want to care for people, but they really don't want them around them. So that's what I feel that you feel with the marijuana. You're fine with people growing it. You're fine with people
Nah, I
doing
ain't gonna
whatever.
lie, having
but
the
right when
dogs
it's in your
out,
house, you
it's
don't
kinda
really
crazy.
care about the person. You want them not around you or your family.
I'd take a gummy every night. It's in my house what are you talking about?
Then why did you kick the person out of your house?
He was a kid who I thought was not just that he reeked of marijuana.
He just
was
got
a
out of
kid
bed.
Who I thought was bad news. I didn't think that he was smoking marijuana. I thought he was selling marijuana. Look, I think all of Matthew's friends smoke marijuana, and so that wasn't the issue. The issue was this guy
But why bring up that he's reeked of marijuana,
might
man?
be a criminal. This guy is a bad influence. So don't take it the wrong way.
Okay, so you kind of briefly talked on like for-profit CEOs and things like that. I was just kind of hoping to hear your take on the current state of healthcare and what recently occurred with their CEO.
Before I answer that question, I want to go back to the coach's question about marijuana, just so everybody understands where I stand. If John Morgan was king, I'd legalize marijuana all over the country, and I'd let you grow it at your house. So that's how I feel about marijuana. As far as the health
That boy be hitting the
think
bong
about
every
this
night.
For a minute. There's only one place that we go.
He be smoking
ever,
that shit,
and
man.
we never ask what it cost. When you go to get your hair cut, what's it cost? When you go to buy a candy bar, what's it cost? When you walk into a hospital, none of us ever ask what it's going to cost. You can get a Tylenol pill over here for $20. It could be $1 at the other hospital. The of the insurance industry by health care is awful. It's off the charts. Our pharmaceuticals in this country are way more money than pharmaceuticals in his favorite country, China.
Okay.
And so you've got the health care where we don't ask what things cost, and then you got insurance companies who are fighting health care, and they're trying to gouge, the hospitals are trying to gouge, the insurance companies are trying to not be gouged, they're fighting, and guess who's stuck in the middle? The person who needs treatment, the person who has cancer, and they're saying, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And
He might
then
be a
what
little
happens?
racist. Low
People
key.
go postal. People
might be.
snap.
So would you be in favor then of a socialized form of healthcare in the United States?
I don't know how it will work. Listen,
Every other
Barack
every other major country has a socialized form of healthcare.
When Obama was president, he came to my house as
Fuck
president.
China do to
I
him?
supported Obama. I'm on the National Finance Committee for Obama. And one of the
Oh.
things that I really liked about
He might have
Obama
gotten cheated on.
was Obamacare.
Or scammed.
A lot of people lost their house seats for voting for Obamacare. So listen, I'm all ears about anything we can do to get more medicine and more treatment to people. My brother-in-law is a physician up in Haines City, Florida. I have a clinic called the Morgan & Morgan Clinic where he runs it, I fund it, and we take care of everybody who is lost in the system who can't get care.
How do you deal with profiting over other people's injuries in your law firm?
Every business is in business to make a profit. If you don't have a profit, you don't have a business.
And what the fuck
on
you in
the other
business
side
for?
of me and on the other side of my clients are insurance companies. Insurance companies do this. They take in premiums and they try not to pay claims. When they try not to pay claims fairly, that's when I'm hired. When I'm hired, the people who are hiring me cannot afford a lawyer by the hour. And the insurance industry, they live in this world. Deny, delay, defend. Their job is to never be fair with you. The people who come to me at their time of need are people who've had something taken from them. The business I'm in is being the key to the courthouse for people who can't afford it, taking all of the risk. And believe me, I've lost some cases where I've written off millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, the only thing between me and them getting a fair shake from the insurance industry is what we do, which is take them to trial. So I never even realized it could be this lucrative until I got in it. But I've also scaled it in such a way that most personal injury firms are like, one-trick ponies in one city. I built mine throughout the entire United States, and by having the scale that I have, my profit got a lot bigger.
You have mentioned before that you make money off of people's injuries and stuff like that. Do you think it's ethical to, I don't want to say take advantage of people, but take advantage of people when
You probably got like a good 3 or 4, and then the other ones are like mismatched.
they're most vulnerable?
I think what I do is highly ethical. I think that the insurance industry is very unethical. I believe that I'm the difference between
I tell you one thing, he probably got that all white John, all white suit, looking like Doug
people
Dimmadome.
getting back what was taken from them and relying on the insurance company. I believe that what I do is almost, not quite, like
Why
an
is that,
industry,
Zach?
because people come
Why
to
is
me in
that?
their most desperate hour, whether they lost their home, lost a life, lost a limb, lost livelihood, and they have no way to fight back. So I can tell you this, I sleep very well with what I do and why I do
The
it,
Geddes.
because I am
What if
the
he just
civil
like to be
police
sparkly, bruh?
representing the people who cannot have a voice for themselves.
The
I
voiceless.
got into this business because my brother Tim was paralyzed, so I got to see what it's like to be on the other side. I got to see what it's like to be the poor person that's being oppressed. And I'll tell you what, it is the worst feeling in the whole world to be hopeless, powerless, helpless. And when you get to step in and even the playing field and say, hey, that ain't gonna happen. And when they try to give you peanuts, we're like, we're not taking peanuts. When I walk into my lobbies throughout America, when I see those clients sitting there, I
Shit,
see my
T.O.
brother, I see my family, and I want to treat them exactly the way I would have wanted to be treated.
Do you believe most billionaires and lawyers are compassionate?
I think it all depends on the person. I believe what's helped me in my life was I came from a very difficult childhood with a lot of
No,
economic
he looked like he's
insecurities
supposed to be
and
wearing a Daft Punk
alcoholism.
helmet.
Everything bad that you could think happened did happen. But the good thing about those things, if you take it the right way, is those things can generate later in life
Bro was
serious
fresh from a rave.
compassion on
He
your
had to
part.
show up to the
Whenever
YouTube
I would
shoot.
see somebody homeless, I used to tell my children, just remember this, they don't want to be there. And once upon a time, that was a little girl and little boy eating an ice cream cone, swinging, having the time of their life. And they don't want to
Damn.
be there. And don't judge them because we don't know how they got there.
John, how do you care for your clients when you're done with them? I know your motto is for the people, but it seems like it's only for the client. Up until a certain point, the award is won, the case is closed. How do you take care of your people after you're done with them?
Here's how
Tell
I
them
take
come
care
back
of
once they
you
got
people.
another injury. Fuck out of
I
here.
change conduct. I just got a big verdict against Takata airbags down in Miami a few weeks ago. I can promise you this, because of my
Ooh.
cases, Takata is changing their conduct. I'm one of the lawyers on the
Oh, him.
opioid case.
Oh, yeah. His
These
cash is
pharmaceutical
popping.
companies were killing us. That's not happening anymore. I have cases against the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry is
Tobacco?
in the business of premeditated murder. These are evil, evil, evil companies. And so for the people, not my clients, the people who I'll never represent, the people who will never know me, I'm changing conduct.
My question to you, throughout law school, I heard a lot that lawyers are the reason why insurance costs so much and is expensive. So what is your take on that?
Well, you heard that from the insurance industry. There's been tort reform after tort reform all across America. And you know why they have this, what's called tort reform? To take away your rights, my rights, their rights. They say, we're going to take certain rights away from you, and your rates are going to go down. But here's what's never happened. They've never tied one of those bills to a mandatory decrease of insurance premiums. These insurance companies take premiums in, they make bad investments, and then they say, oh, the lawyers are causing us to make bad investments. No, the lawyers aren't the problem. The insurance companies who run their companies poorly are the problem, and they just want bigger profits. And by the way, when you go home, Google their profits. Google what their CEOs are making. They're not hurting. They're making a lot of money.
If you lost all of your wealth tomorrow, what would be your next step in this struggling economy? Do you think you could pull it off? Do you think you could
Bro,
be just
she
as
sounded so
successful?
fake.
I think if I did this again,
She sounded like a
I would
robot
not
for a
be as
second.
Successful. This has been a series of left turns and right turns, and all of a sudden you end up here. I'm not arrogant enough. I believe that 99% of what's happened to me is
Loki's wife.
luck or blessings or whatever you want to call it.
That's
I'm
not
a
his wife,
pastor,
son.
and one of the core tenets of many faith systems in the world is a rejection of possessions and wealth.
Can't
Do you
be,
feel
bro.
like you had to sacrifice
See
part
some
of
fine
yourself
shit.
or your faith or your family
Kidding.
to be able to get where you are today?
Not at all, because my faith has been at the forefront of everything I've done. It's the teachings from my faith guide me not only in my life, but in my business life. And those lessons are fairly clear to me. Do I
One of
think
them
I
ain't
need to
even
take a
talk.
vow of
Same
poverty?
six people
I don't
talking?
think so. If I'd done
Yeah,
that, I would
I don't
would have
think.
been
I
a
think
Catholic
it's just people who got
priest.
something to
So
say.
no, I have
You know
never
what I'm
found
saying?
a conflict
Some
in
people
making
just
money in my
some people
faith.
can't
I
talk.
think the
Some
conflict
people
would be
can't really
if
just
I
like
made
sit there
money
and form a
didn't use
fucking
my
question. I
money
guess.
for what I've been taught to use my money for. What my goal is I don't live anywhere near what I make, except my jet, and that is excessive. But I don't live that way, and my goal now is that I think my children are set. I do not want
W-flex.
to leave the government one penny. I think that, if you want to see your money wasted, give it to Congress. And what I want to do is I want to do as
Say,
much
let
as
me
I
get a
can while
jet.
I'm alive.
How much
and
is a
leave
jet, chat?
Huge amount of money into a foundation.
We check
and
how
that
much a
will
jet
say
is?
at that foundation, faith without works is dead.
I
Jets.
personally work at my family's cafe,
Dubai.
and I was wondering how much do you normally tip customer service workers that are in serving positions?
$100, and I'll tell you why. We're a member of 3 different churches, and my wife gives away, I don't even know what she gives to these churches. But
Pause.
I'm
Hold
much
on.
more interested.
Hold on, Unc. Hold on, Unc. Chat, which jet are we getting? We got a $2 million jet. A $9 million jet. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, guys. 4 million, 1 million. Okay, hold on now. This is our speed right here, guys. Not gonna lie. 2 look nicer than 9. 2 do look nicer than 9. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, what the fuck? The $2 million one looks way better than the 9. Damn. I think we get it. We get the jet. We color it green, so this way they know who's on the plane. Thoughts? Then that's how we travel everywhere. Everybody. We all gonna be on the jet together. $7 million. I'm just looking. Ooh, it's looking fire. Ooh, a little sleep right there. That little knockout right there. Shit. Can we see most expensive? I don't know. What the fuck? No, I mean price high to low. Hot day. Most expensive is 53. Shit. Who's fucking on a jet? You. Not me. 53. I fuck with this one. This was crazy. 53 mil. 45. That shit look cold. I ain't gonna lie. It's a price reduced. 42 mil. That's fire. Shit. I gotta figure out what jet we gonna get, man. We probably get the $2 million. You know, I don't want to go crazy. Oh, heck no. What is this? Dassault Falcon 7X. 28 mil. That shit look fast as fuck.
And leaving $100 tips for my servers and for the people who cut my hair, then throwing $100 in the collection
with 42,
plate.
I can buy a couple
Because
cribs. It's like
$100
4.
to somebody can change their day.
2 to mil jets.
I got a case
Yeah,
one
exactly.
time where a little boy was killed.
42,
by a
I'm
bus
buying
in
hella
Jacksonville.
rental
My
property.
investigator
What?
called me, said, I just think I'd tell you how we
Then
got
I'll just
this
buy the
case.
$2 million
I said, "How?"
jet.
Said, the
I just
woman
me
next
point
to
A to
one.
B.
When did
Come
she
on
leave
now.
me? 5 years ago. Where? It was Christmas Eve at Bob Evans, and I went there for breakfast with my daughter, and she told my investigator, and he left me a $100 tip. That's why she called me. So I don't know where your cafe is, but let me know, and I'll come in and
Amazing.
leave you a $100 tip.
I'll definitely let you know. That's an amazing tip. Thank you, John.
Do you believe it's justifiable
Don't
to be
piss in the
worth $1
wind.
billion
It's my
while
tip.
millions live in poverty?
No. If I could undo it all and let us all be the same, that's what I would do.
Okay, and do you believe, because I heard something about how you don't agree with the government spending, which I actually do agree with, so how would you split up the money?
The most to the most with the least. I believe that there are people that are, and I don't believe it, I know it. When you go out to the Morgan Hunger Relief Center, the people that are walking in there are not the homeless. They're walking in there dressed in work clothes with their children to get free food. And it's an abomination.
Yeah, because I go to the University of Florida because I remember you mentioning it, and one thing I've noticed as a college student is that there is a lot of corruption throughout it, from the president, even from student government funneling millions. And then when I look into to see what happens,
Someone's go
nothing
crazy,
really happened. They
right?
didn't go to jail. or
Morgan
Look, the University of
Foundation.
Florida, they hired this president who was just a buddy of the governor's, and he came up there and raped the University of Florida and took so much money, and he's still on the payroll, Ben
Yeah.
Sass.
Yeah, that's what a lot of college students are talking about.
It's
yeah.
an outrage. And by the way, when you Google those articles, the alligator, I'm all over those all over those articles, ripping him a new.
So you just mentioned
Damn.
that everyone's a politician now, but you also said that you also have done at least 2 different things with legislation. So would you consider yourself to also be a politician?
Sorta. You know, everybody wants me to run for governor of Florida right now. When I'd go to the White House, they'd take me over to the side and show me polling on me. And there's a side of me that thinks I could be good at it, but then there's a side of me that really enjoys
He do look like a
living in
governor.
Maui half the year.
I'm kind of politician.
So I became sort of a politician because, listen, they were fighting me hard on the minimum wage. They were fighting me hard on medical marijuana. And I was out debating sheriffs, and everybody I was debating had a green suit on and a gun. So it's like, you know, a little hard to debate them. So I was sort of a politician because I was in the political realm, and that's why all this talk about me, about people wanting me to run for governor is percolating.
So today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. I think we all have experienced at some point in time that moment that you talked about as a kid, sitting there hoping and praying that somebody would help you. So I guess my question that you didn't really answer, you just told me how much you have. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now, that can't pay a bill, had to miss out on work? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today, and I'm struggling. I got bills, man. And I'm not begging for money, but I'm saying, what stops you from being able to go and help us and change our lives? Because
Let me give you 100 while we're here.
That's I ain't gonna, like, all right, hold on. Here's $100, buddy. Pipe down. Here's $100. Like, oh nah. That's, I don't know if that's disrespectful or I bet, you know, kind of like, hey, here, man, I got you, kind of shit. I don't know. Where does that stand? Like, is that disrespectful? Or is that like, I bet I got you with something? Nah, that's tough. That's low key flex because he also pulled out a wad of cash. He could have given him 500 or a band, but he gave him $100. He said, "Here, Bucko, 100. Hold this down for me." That's what he said. He said, "Thank you for keeping my seat warm, motherfucker." Oh shit.
Thank you.
Don't buy marijuana.
No, I don't smoke.
Now, hold on now. Why are you telling him not to buy marijuana, buddy?
Middle school.
No, man.
Nothing stops me. Listen, here's how I look at it. I went to a religious retreat one time under duress. It was called a Crescio. And I thought it was going to be a bunch of bullshit, and it was basically a bunch of bullshit. But at the very end,
Hi,
it all
Paula.
came down to
Welcome
one
in.
thing that I took from that meeting. And here's what I took.
You only tip 100?
I can't change
Fuck
the
that.
whole
Give me
world.
a
I would
band,
love
bro.
to be able to. But the phrase that I took from that Crescio weekend was, bloom where you're planted. What does that mean? That means I can't solve hardly
Everybody's
anything.
issues, yeah.
But every once in a while, I'll get a God whisper, somebody asking. Then I think back to that Crescio, and it's like, bloom where you're planted. And I feel like at this moment, that's what I'm being asked to do. And I can only do so much. I'm trying to manage my money so that at the end of it all, it can have the greatest bang for its buck.
You know, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure if there's anything that would have been a perfect answer, just because he's really good at talking to you and he's a likable guy. And he's got he's soft in the eyes, so it's easy for him to
he's raising his
get you on
shit.
his side. So I don't know if there's anything he could have said that would have completely changed my mind. But I think showing your actions, he handed me $100, but there were people in the room had told their stories throughout the day. And with a wad of cash in your hand, you could shut me up, but he could have given it to everybody. He could have shown in that moment that he has the power to change your life, and he could try to change your life. Even if it's a small amount, it's better than nothing. And
Hey man, you the only one that asked for that $100. I'm gonna be real. No one else had the courage to ask for it, and I'm guarantee you they probably regret it. So you did your thing, player. No one else. Well, that's it. That's basically what it is. You closed mouths don't get fed. If they want $100, ask for $100.
no, he didn't really do that.
One of the takeaways I took is there was a quiet desperation, a little bit of a worry about the future.
Think about a new shirt.
And a little resentment.
You might buy something
about
else.
People who have money.
Maybe
I
marijuana.
think billionaires are inherently parasitical to society as a whole. No matter how they accumulated that wealth, they're always going to be profiting off of the
He
backs
seemed
of
like a
people
great
who are
guy, though.
doing the work. In his case, he's the better of evil system in general. While he is helping injured people get the settlement that they feel they deserve, he is still profiting off of advocating for that injury.
I'm of the volition that there's nothing wrong with billionaires. I am a rabid capitalist, and I know John talked about that a lot, but that is who I am. That is my background. I think that if you have a financial wealth, yes, you should definitely do good things with it, and you need to help.
He got a weird head
people around
shape
you.
right
That's
there.
just moral code. But I don't believe that billionaires are inherently bad, or they're out to
He's
prove
saying
world
that.
domination
I'm fucking dead.
or something of the sort like that.
I think a lot
Yo.
of the questions are going to help me reflect on.
I was literally saying that shit too, bro. W video. They're acting like he was forced to skip work and be here. Fucking facts. Why is man acting like he was forced to be in the fucking video, bruh?